This video is to help people to know if they have just received henna, how to wrap it if they want it to stay on overnight to get the deepest, darkest stain possible. So one of the traditional ways that most people will have these supplies at home, you wrap toilet paper around it and then tightly wrap plastic wrap around it, and you can tape that down. The toilet paper is to absorb any sweat, because if you put the plastic wrap directly on the skin, any sweat would just make the paste rehydrate and smear kind of like watercolor. So you could wrap each finger with toilet paper. If it's just on your hand, you could put a dark glove on, because it would stain a lighter one, or if you don't mind it staining, like a winter glove that might, have an elastic around here. But even sometimes, like the kind of gloves you put on after you put a ton of cream on to moisturize, that type of glove can work too. Even though it's a little bit looser, at least it will catch most of the henna crumbs that might escape overnight. They often will look like mouse poop, and if you have light sheets, they can stain the sheets as well. So if you have dark sheets, not as big of a deal. And then if you have designs up here, that's where the toilet paper and the plastic wrap and the tape work. You could also use an ace bandage, because that would absorb the sweat and keep things in place. If you had something like a compression sock, that could work, or like a compression shirt. I wrapped someone the other day, even though it was on the shoulder and that was going to be very difficult, we actually took a paper towel, pulled the two ply apart, put that down, then the plastic wrap, and then taped that down. Actually taped the paper towel, then taped the plastic wrap, and the stain she showed looked like it went pretty well. Overnight is a great time, because hopefully you're not moving too much, and all those extra hours of having the paste on you can help it soak into the skin, because the longer the paste stays on, the deeper the stain is and the longer it will last. Some people take it off after just a few hours, and that's okay, but it's not ideal. If you have anything like sports tape or medical tape, you can put that over the design. That's often the kind of thing I do. Any cloth kind of tape, certain medical tapes would kind of be more expensive for how much area you're covering. If you're just covering like a small thing, not as big of a deal. Let's say to use foam tape if that was all you had, but ideally there are tape that are much less expensive, and they either are kind of cloth or papery, and they will stick to the skin, but then you can get it off, and it usually doesn't hurt the skin. It might, you might notice it on your hair, but anything to keep the design in place so that it can soak into the skin and not get all over your bed and get smushed off. It is important to make sure the design is dry before doing this, otherwise it can smear big time. Usually most designs are going to be dry within half an hour. If they have solid, like if this entire area was just a solid chunk of henna, that's often more thick and can take longer to dry. But if it's lines, that has more surface area, and it will typically dry more quickly. So wrapping overnight in some fashion usually gives the best stain. In the cultures where they're doing really intricate and extensive henna for a wedding, first of all, they've paid quite a bit to have this done, and that's more reason to want it to last as long as possible, to stain as deeply. But there are also certain cultures where, as long as the wife has the henna still on, she's absolved from having to do housework, so more motivation to keep it on. And other things like that, like the longer she has it on, the better benefit she gets. But even if you just spend $15, if something as simple as that could keep it on even just a few extra days, when you think about, like, you go to a fair, you generally might have to buy 3 meals in the day, and these meals might be $20 each, and they only last a few hours. And then you think about, imagine if you spent that same $60 on henna, you're going to have it a few weeks if you take care of it, possibly a little bit more. If you divide that on a per day price, it's a pretty good deal compared to the food at most places that are alongside where you might be getting henna. So those are some tips on how to wrap it for overnight and make it last as long as possible. further aspects are basically it's in your skin. So exfoliating will take it off, moisturizing will help keep it on. You want no lotion or oil as a barrier when the henna paste is put on, but in the process of getting the henna off and in the following days, moisturizing it as much as possible is what will help it stay on, and avoiding exfoliation. And these are some of the opposite rules from Glamorology, where that sits on top of the skin. You still don't want to exfoliate, but you know any kind of oil would actually take it off. But with henna, oil helps keep it in, keeping the skin moisturized. If you can exfoliate before you get the henna on, that can help. Especially in the first couple days, avoiding chlorine, and using oil more than like water to get the paste off, that kind of thing. So those should help after you've had your henna to make it last as long as possible. Have a great day, and peace be with you.